Serena's hands trembled as she pressed the cold compress against the small boy's burning forehead. Mateo's lips had turned an alarming shade of blue, and his breathing came in shallow, desperate gasps. The mansion's medical team stood frozen around her, their expensive equipment useless against something they couldn't see. Step aside, one of the doctors barked at her, his tone dripping with dismissal. You're just the maid. But Serena didn't move. She couldn't because in that split second she had recognized something in Mateo's symptoms. Something these Harvard-educated physicians had completely missed. Something that would kill the 5-year-old boy in minutes if she didn't act now. The heavy footsteps behind her made every person in the room go silent. She didn't need to turn around to know who had entered. Sebastian Dupont's presence was like a gravitational pull. Absolute terrifying. Inescapable. What? His voice cut through the room like a blade. Is happening to my son? If you want to discover how this moment came to be and what happened when Serena made the choice that would change 3 lives forever, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view helps bring more stories like this one to life. 3 weeks earlier, Serena Ferguson had learned to be invisible. It was a skill she'd perfected during her 6 months working at the Dupont estate, a sprawling mansion in the hills of Malibu that looked more like a fortress than a home. She kept her eyes down, her movements quiet, her presence forgettable. In a house where armed men patrolled the grounds and every conversation could be a matter of life or death, invisibility meant survival. More coffee. One of Sebastian's associates barked at her during a morning meeting, not bothering to look up from his phone. Serena refilled his cup silently, her nurse's hand steady despite the degradation burning in her chest. She had traded her scrubs for a maid's uniform 2 years ago when the hospital fired her for missing too many shifts. Her mother's chemotherapy appointments hadn't cared about her work schedule, and neither had her supervisor. Now at 28, she cleaned toilets in a mansion owned by California's most feared Mafia boss, while her nursing license gathered dust in a drawer, and her student loans multiplied like bacteria in a petri dish. Miss Ferguson. The voice made her freeze, deep, controlled, with an Italian accent that turned her name into something almost musical. She'd heard Sebastian Dupont speak perhaps 5 times in 6 months, never directly to her. She turned slowly, keeping her gaze respectfully lowered. Yes, sir. Sebastian stood in the doorway of the dining room, 6 feet 3 inches in of controlled power, wrapped in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her annual salary. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass, and a tattoo peaked just above his collar, some kind of intricate design she'd never gotten close enough to decipher. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch. Dark, intelligent, haunted. Eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. My son needs supervision while his nanny is away. You'll watch him today. It wasn't a request. Nothing, Sebastian Dupont said, was ever a request. Of course, sir. Where his room? 3rd floor, east wing. Don't let him out of your sight. Sebastian's gaze locked onto hers for the first time, and she felt the impact like a physical force. He's everything. Do you understand? The vulnerability beneath the command made something twist in her chest. I understand. She found Mateo in a bedroom that looked like a toy store had exploded inside a palace. The 5-year-old sat on the floor, surrounded by action figures, his small face pale and drawn. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, the kind Serena had seen too many times during her nursing rotations in pediatrics. Hi there, she said softly, crouching down to his level. I'm Serena. Your dad asked me to hang out with you today. Mateo looked up at her with eyes that were startlingly like his father's. Too serious for a child. You're the new maid. I am, and you're the boss's son. Everyone's scared of my dad. It wasn't a question, just a fact, stated with the weary acceptance of a child who'd learned the world's harsh truths too early. Being powerful doesn't mean being scary, Serena said carefully. It means protecting the people you love. Mateo studied her with that unnerving intensity, then returned to his toys. Serena settled onto the floor near him, watching, observing. Her nursing instincts hadn't dulled despite the career change, and something about Mateo's appearance nagged at her. The pallor, the lethargy, the way he moved slowly, conserving energy. "Are you feeling okay, Matteo?" she asked casually. "Any tummy aches or headaches?" He shrugged. "The doctors say I'm fine. They come every week." Every week? That wasn't normal. Children didn't need weekly doctor visits unless something was wrong. "Do you get tired easily?" Another shrugged. "I don't like to run around much." Serena's professional concern sharpened into something more urgent. She spent the rest of the day observing Matteo carefully, how he played for short bursts before needing to rest, how his breathing seemed slightly labored, how he had no appetite at lunch despite the chef's elaborate preparation. That evening, as she prepared to leave, Sebastian appeared in the hallway outside Matteo's room. His jacket was off, his shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with more tattoos. He looked exhausted in a way that expensive suits couldn't hide. How was he? The question came out rough, almost desperate. Serena hesitated. She was just the maid. She had no right to question the medical care provided by what were undoubtedly the best doctors money could buy. But the nurse in her couldn't stay silent. "Mr. to DuPont. I used to be a nurse before, and Matteo used to be." His attention sharpened on her like a laser. "Why aren't you anymore?" "That's not important. What's important is that Matteo shows signs of everything about you is important if you're spending time with my son." Sebastian stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and clean that made her pulse race for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. "Why did you leave nursing?" The question felt like an interrogation, but his tone wasn't harsh. It was curious, genuinely interested. "I needed flexible hours to care for my mother. The hospital wasn't accommodating." She lifted her chin, refusing to be ashamed. "I made a choice." Something flickered in his expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. "What were you going to say about Matteo? Has he been tested for adrenal insufficiency?" "Addison's disease. His symptoms. He's been tested for everything." Sebastian's jaw tightened. 3 different specialists. All the best. They found nothing. Sometimes the rarest conditions are the easiest to miss. Serena pressed carefully. "Especially in children. The symptoms mimic." "I appreciate your concern, Miss Ferguson, but my son receives the finest medical care available." His tone had gone cold, dismissive. The dawn was back, shutting down the conversation. Serena knew when to retreat. She nodded and turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "You'll continue to watch Matteo when his nanny is unavailable." She looked back, surprised. "Sir, he seemed comfortable with you." Sebastian's expression remained impassive, but something in his eyes betrayed him. That doesn't happen often. If you're enjoying this story and want to see what happens next, please subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to us as we continue bringing these stories to life. 2 weeks passed in a strange, new rhythm. Serena spent her days split between household duties and supervising Matteo during his nanny's increasingly frequent absences. She learned that the boy loved dinosaurs, hated broccoli, and had memorized every line of his favorite superhero movies. She also learned that he tired easily, experienced frequent dizzy spells, and had developed an unusual craving for salt. Every symptom screamed adrenal crisis to her trained mind, but Sebastian's doctors remained confident in their diagnosis of general fatigue and mild anemia. She kept her concerns to herself. She was just the maid. Nobody would listen. But she watched, and she waited, and she prayed she was wrong. The crisis came on a Tuesday afternoon. Serena was in the kitchen reviewing menus with the chef when one of Sebastian's security guards burst through the door, his face pale. Matteo collapsed. "We need the medical team now." Her body moved before her mind processed the words. She ran up 3 flights of stairs, her heart pounding, her nurses' training overriding every instinct for self-preservation. She heard shouts, chaos, the sound of people moving with urgent purpose. Matteo's bedroom had transformed into a scene of controlled panic. The boy lay on his bed, unconscious, his skin gray and clammy. 2 doctors worked over him, checking vitals, preparing injections. Sebastian stood to the side, his usual composure shattered, his hands clenched into fists that looked capable of breaking bones. Blood pressure's dropping, one doctor announced. Heart rate's irregular. What's wrong with him? Sebastian's voice carried the edge of violence, barely restrained. We're not sure yet, Mr. DuPont. We need to. Serena pushed forward through the crowd, her eyes on Matteo. His breathing was rapid and shallow. His lips had a bluish tint, and there the darkening of his skin, the hyperpigmentation she'd noticed gradually developing over weeks. Addisonian crisis. She was certain. Now he needs hydrocortisone, she said loudly, her voice cutting through the chaos. Now 4 push 100 milligrams. Everyone turned to stare at her. The doctor's expressions ranged from annoyed to incredulous. Who the hell are you? The lead physician demanded. Someone who knows what's killing him. Serena moved closer to the bed, her hands already assessing Matteo's pulse, his temperature. He's in adrenal crisis. Addison's disease. His body isn't producing cortisol without immediate treatment. Addison's was ruled out months ago, the doctor snapped. His cortisol levels were normal. Were they tested during a stress event or at a random time? Serena shot back, her professional authority surfacing despite her maid's uniform. Addison's can show normal levels until the body is under stress. Then the adrenal glands can't respond and the patient crashes. This is absurd. Mr. DuPont, your maid is not qualified to save my son. Sebastian's voice was lethal. His eyes locked onto Serena's with an intensity that would have terrified her if she hadn't been so focused on Matteo. Can you save him? If we act in the next 5 minutes, yes. She held his gaze. But I need them to listen to me. Time seemed to suspend. Then Sebastian turned to his doctors with an expression that could have frozen hell itself. Do exactly what she says. Now the physicians looked ready to argue, but something in Sebastian's face made them think better of it. One of them prepared the hydrocortisone injection with shaking hands while Serena positioned Matteo for 4 access. He'll also need saline fluids and glucose, she instructed, her voice steady despite her racing heart. And we need to monitor his blood pressure every 2 minutes. She guided them through each step, her hands moving with the confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times. Within minutes, the hydrocortisone entered Matteo's system. Within 5, his color began to improve. Within 10, his breathing steadied. The room exhaled collectively. Sebastian moved to his son's bedside, his hand gentle on Matteo's small forehead. The transformation from ruthless Dawn to terrified father was complete, and Serena felt something crack open in her chest at the sight. He'll need maintenance medication for the rest of his life, she explained quietly. Daily hydrocortisone, regular monitoring, but with proper treatment, he can live completely normally. Sebastian didn't look up from Matteo. How did you know? I did a rotation in pediatric endocrinology during nursing school. Addison's was rare, but once you see it, you don't forget. She moved toward the door, giving them privacy. The doctors will want to run confirmatory tests, but I'm confident. Stay. The command froze her mid-step. Sebastian finally looked up, and the emotion in his eyes nearly destroyed her. Please stay until he wakes up. It wasn't the voice of the Mafia boss. It was the voice of a father who'd just watched his son nearly die. Of course, Serena whispered. Matteo woke 2 hours later, confused, but alive. Sebastian refused to leave his side, and Serena found herself pulled into their intimate circle by an invisible force she didn't understand and couldn't resist. The doctors ran their confirmatory tests over the next few days. Every result came back positive for Addison's disease. The specialists issued formal apologies that meant nothing compared to the fact that they'd nearly let a 5-year-old die from medical negligence. Sebastian said nothing to them. He simply had them replaced. Serena's role in the household shifted dramatically. She was no longer just the maid, though she still performed those duties out of necessity and pride. Now she was also Matteo's unofficial medical supervisor, the person Sebastian trusted above all others to keep his son healthy. You should go back to nursing, Sebastian told her one evening. They were in his study, a room she'd cleaned 100 times, but never truly seen until he'd invited her in. Leather-bound books lined the walls. A fireplace crackled softly. It was surprisingly cozy for a crime lord's domain. I can't afford to quit this job, Serena said honestly. My mother's medical bills are paid as of yesterday. Sebastian poured 2 glasses of wine, offering her one along with your student loans. Serena's hand froze halfway to accepting the glass. What? You saved my son's life. Money is the least I can offer in return. He met her shocked stare evenly. Your nursing license can be reinstated. I have people who can facilitate that. You could work anywhere you want. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it. Sebastian's expression softened in a way she'd never seen. You have a gift, Serena. People with gifts shouldn't have to clean toilets. The use of her first name sent warmth cascading through her body. You don't have to do this. I want to. He moved closer, and she caught that intoxicating scent of his cologne again. Matteo asks for you constantly. He trusts you, and in my world, trust is rarer than gold. What about you? The question escaped before she could stop it. Do you trust me? Sebastian studied her with those dark, haunted eyes. I'm beginning to. The moment stretched between them, electric and dangerous. Serena knew she should step back, maintain the professional distance that was already hopelessly blurred. But she didn't move. Neither did he.
Papa.
Matteo's voice from the doorway shattered the tension. The boy ran to his father, who scooped him up effortlessly. The deadly Mafia boss transforming instantly into a gentle parent. You're supposed to be asleep, Piccolo. Sebastian chided softly. I wanted to show Serena my drawing. Matteo wiggled down and thrust a piece of paper at her. It showed 3 stick figures, a tall man, a small boy, and a woman with curly hair. The word family was written across the top in uneven letters. Serena's throat tightened. It's beautiful, Matteo. That's you. Matteo pointed to the woman. You're part of our family now. She couldn't look at Sebastian. Couldn't bear to see his reaction to his son's innocent declaration, but she felt his gaze on her like a physical touch. Come on, she said gently, taking Matteo's hand. Let's get you back to bed. As she tucked Matteo in, the boy's small hand grabbed hers. You won't leave, right? Like Mama did. Serena's heart shattered. She'd learned from the household staff that Matteo's mother had died in childbirth, leaving Sebastian to raise their son alone in a world of violence and danger. I'm not going anywhere, she promised, and meant it with every fiber of her being. When she returned to the hallway, Sebastian was waiting. The vulnerability in his expression took her breath away. He's never talked about his mother, Sebastian said quietly. Not once in 5 years, but with you. He opens up, laughs, acts like a child instead of a miniature adult. He feels safe, Serena said. Children know who they can trust.
And you?
Sebastian stepped closer, eliminating the distance between them. Do you feel safe? The question was loaded with meaning. They both knew what he was really asking. With Matteo, yes, always. She forced herself to meet his eyes. With you?
I don't know yet.
Instead of anger, Sebastian smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face. Honest.
I appreciate that. Your world scares me, she admitted.
The violence, the danger, but you. She trailed off, unsure how to explain the contradiction. I scare you, he finished. No, you make me feel things I shouldn't feel. The confession hung in the air between them. I'm your employee. You're a man who can't stop thinking about you. Sebastian's hand came up to cup her cheek, his touch surprisingly gentle for someone capable of such violence. A man who watches you with my son and imagines a future I have no right to want. A man who is falling for someone he doesn't deserve. Serena's breath hitched. Sebastian, tell me to stop, he whispered, leaning closer. Tell me this is wrong, and I'll walk away. I'll maintain every boundary. You'll never have to worry about your job, or she kissed him. It was impulsive, reckless, everything she'd promised herself she wouldn't do. But the moment their lips met, everything else fell away. His arms came around her, strong and protective. And for the first time in 2 years, Serena felt like she could breathe. The kiss was gentle, despite the hunger she felt thrumming through Sebastian's body. He held her like she was precious, breakable, something to be cherished rather than claimed. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. This is complicated, Serena whispered. Everything worth having is complicated. Sebastian's thumb traced her lower lip. But I want you to know this isn't about gratitude or obligation. What I feel, it started before you saved Matteo. The first time I saw you refuse to be invisible, refuse to accept being dismissed. You have a fire in you that calls to something I thought died long ago. What if I'm not strong enough for your world? You saved my son when trained physicians couldn't. You've survived losing everything and rebuilt yourself with dignity. Sebastian's expression was fierce. You're stronger than you know, and I would burn that world to ashes before I let it touch you. 2 weeks of stolen moments followed. Kisses in empty hallways, conversations that stretched past midnight, Sebastian teaching Serena Italian phrases while Matteo giggled at her pronunciation. Days that felt almost normal, almost possible. Serena knew it couldn't last. Happiness never did in her experience. The threat materialized on a Thursday evening. She was reading to Matteo in his room when she heard raised voices from downstairs. Male voices, harsh and angry. Then Sebastian's voice, calm but lethal. Stay here, she told Matteo. Don't come out until I come back. Tie Serena. Promise me, Matteo. The boy nodded, fear darkening his eyes. She found Sebastian in the foyer, surrounded by his men, facing three strangers whose expensive suits couldn't hide their predatory nature. The lead man was tall and blonde with cold blue eyes that swept over the room like he was calculating its worth. Richard Kozlov, Sebastian said, and Serena heard the hatred in his voice. You're not welcome here. Come now, DuPont. Is that any way to treat old friends? The man's English carried a Russian accent. I've come to discuss a business proposal. We have no business. Oh, but we do. Kozlov's gaze landed on Serena, and she felt violation in his stare. I see you found yourself a new toy. Pretty thing, very exotic. Sebastian moved between them so fast Serena barely saw it. His hand closed around Kozlov's throat, and the Russian's men reached for their weapons. The metallic click of safeties being released filled the air. Speak about her again, Sebastian said softly. And you'll be feeding fish in the Pacific before sunrise. Kozlov laughed, even with Sebastian's hand at his throat. Touchy. She must be special. Sebastian released him with obvious reluctance. State your business and leave. I want your territory in San Francisco, your shipping routes, your political connections. Kozlov straightened his collar. In exchange, I'll let you and your son live in peace. You have nothing I want and nothing to offer.
No.
Kozlov smiled, and it was the smile of a shark. I have information about the car accident that killed your wife. The temperature in the room dropped. Sebastian went absolutely still, and Serena knew with certainty that she was about to witness something terrible. It wasn't an accident, Kozlov continued. The brake lines were cut by one of your own men, someone you trusted, someone who's still in your organization. He paused for effect. Give me what I want, and I'll tell you who. Serena's mind raced. This was a power play, a manipulation designed to destabilize Sebastian's empire from within. But the pain in Sebastian's eyes was real, raw, devastating. Get out, Sebastian said. You have 24 hours to leave California. After that, you're a dead man. Kozlov's smile widened. I'll be in touch. And DuPont, watch your back. Traitors are closer than you think. After they left, Sebastian stood motionless in the center of the room. His men dispersed silently, giving their boss space. Only Serena remained. She moved to him slowly, her hand finding his. Sebastian.
He's right.
Sebastian's voice was hollow. Someone in my organization killed Sarah. Someone I trust, and I have no idea who. You can't let him manipulate you. That's exactly what he wants. She was pregnant, Sebastian whispered. And Serena felt the words like a physical blow. 7 months. We were going to name her Iris. The car went off a cliff on her way to a doctor's appointment. They told me the brakes failed. Just a tragic accident. Tears burned Serena's eyes.
I'm so sorry.
I should have protected her. Should have seen the danger. Sebastian's hand tightened around hers. And now I've put you in danger, too. Kozlov saw how I looked at you. He knows that you care about me, Serena finished.
And he'll use that.
I won't let him touch you. Sebastian pulled her close, and she went willingly, wrapping her arms around him. I'll send you away somewhere safe. You and your mother. New identities, new lives, everything you need.
No.
Serena. Matteo needs me.
You need me.
She pulled back to look at him. I'm not running. Not anymore. You don't understand what you're asking. My world is now my world, too. She cupped his face, forcing him to see her resolve. For better or worse, I'm in this. I choose this. I choose you. Sebastian kissed her with desperate intensity, like she was air and he was drowning. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I love you, he breathed. God help me. I love you. Then let me stand beside you. Serena's voice was steady despite her fear. Whatever comes, we face it together. The sound of small footsteps made them turn. Matteo stood on the stairs, clutching his stuffed dinosaur, his face pale. Papa, are the bad men going to hurt us? Sebastian moved to his son immediately, lifting him into his arms. No, Piccolo. I promise no one will hurt our family. Serena, too? Especially Serena. Matteo looked between them with those two wise eyes. She's your girlfriend now, right? Like in the movies. Despite everything, Serena laughed. Something like that.
Good.
I want her to stay forever. Sebastian's eyes found hers over Matteo's head, and the emotion there nearly undid her. Forever sounds perfect. The next 72 hours were a nightmare of revelation and betrayal. Sebastian's security team worked around the clock, investigating every member of his organization. Serena stayed close to Matteo, now officially moved into the main house's family wing rather than the staff quarters. She watched Sebastian transform into the ruthless Don she'd heard about but never witnessed. Cold, calculating, merciless in his pursuit of the truth. The traitor was discovered on the third day. Diego Moretti, Sebastian's own cousin, had been feeding information to rival families for years. The break-line sabotage was his work. Revenge for some perceived slight. Serena didn't ask what Sebastian did to Diego. She didn't need to know. But Sebastian came to her that night, and she held him while he broke down for the first and only time, grieving the wife he'd lost and the family betrayal that had stolen her. I'm afraid, he admitted in the darkness of her room. Afraid I'll fail to protect you like I failed Sarah. Afraid Kozlov will find a way to hurt you, or Matteo. Afraid of loving someone again when love has cost me everything. Fear means you care, Serena whispered, her fingers running through his hair. And caring is never wrong, even when it hurts. How are you so wise? I'm not. I'm terrified, too. She made him look at her. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. The showdown with Kozlov came exactly 1 week after his initial visit. Sebastian received word that the Russian was making a move against his San Francisco operations, trying to seize them by force. Stay here, Sebastian ordered as he prepared to leave. My best men will guard you and Matteo. Be careful. Serena grabbed his hand. Come back to us always. He kissed her deeply, then pressed something into her hand.
A key.
To my private safe room. If anything happens, take Matteo there. Lock yourselves in. Don't come out for anyone but me. Hours passed like years. Serena tried to keep Matteo occupied, but they both felt the tension. Then the phone rang. Not Sebastian's cell, but the house line. Serena answered with shaking hands. Miss Ferguson. Kozlov's voice made her blood run cold. I have a proposition for you. I have nothing to say to you. Not even to save your lover's life. I have Sebastian alive for now, injured but breathing. He paused. Come to the warehouse on 5th Street, alone. No guards, no weapons. Or I start removing pieces of him. Serena's world tilted. How do I know you really have him? A moment later, Sebastian's voice came through, strained with pain. Serena, don't. A sound like a blow, then silence. You have 1 hour. The line went dead. Serena stood frozen, her mind racing through impossible choices. If she went, Kozlov would likely kill her and Sebastian both. If she didn't go, Sebastian would die. And Matteo. Matteo was staring at her with wide, terrified eyes. They have Papa, he whispered. Serena made her decision. She called Sebastian's second in command. Marcus explained the situation and gave him the warehouse address. Then she looked at Matteo. I need you to be very brave.
Can you do that?
Matteo nodded.
Good.
Marcus is going to take you to the safe room. You're going to lock yourself in and wait. No matter what you hear, you don't come out until Papa or I come get you. Where are you going? To bring your Papa home. She kissed his forehead, then watched Marcus take him away. Then she armed herself with one of Sebastian's guns from the study she'd learned to shoot during nursing school, working late shifts in bad neighborhoods, and headed for the warehouse. The building was exactly as expected, abandoned, dark, smelling of oil and decay. She entered alone, her heart pounding, the gun hidden in the small of her back. Sebastian was chained to a support beam in the center of the empty space, blood dripping from a cut above his eye. He looked up as she entered, and the anguish in his expression nearly broke her. Serena, no. How touching. Kozlov emerged from the shadows, flanked by 4 armed men. True love. How exploitable. Let him go, Serena said. You wanted me. Here I am. Oh, I don't want you, dear. I want him to suffer. And what better way than to make him watch while the explosion rocked the building than another? Sebastian's men poured in from every entrance, and chaos erupted. Serena dove for cover as bullets flew, her hand finding the gun at her back. She wasn't a fighter, but she was a survivor, and she would be damned if she'd let Kozlov win. Through the smoke and noise, she saw Kozlov raising his gun toward Sebastian, who was still chained and defenseless. Without thinking, Serena raised her own weapon and fired. The shot hit Volkov in the shoulder. Not fatal, but enough to make him drop his gun and stumble backward. Marcus and 2 other men subdued him immediately. The rest of Kozlov's men were already dead or surrendering. Serena ran to Sebastian, her shaking fingers working at the chains. I've got you. I've got you. You came, he rasped. You stupid, brave, impossible woman.
You came. Of course I came.
The chains fell away, and Sebastian's arms came around her immediately, crushing her against him despite his injuries. I love you, you idiot. Where you go, I go. Marry me. Serena pulled back, certain she'd misheard.
What?
Marry me, Sebastian repeated, his eyes blazing with intensity despite the blood and exhaustion. Right now, tomorrow, whenever, I don't care. But marry me, Serena Ferguson. Be my wife, Matteo's mother, my partner in every possible way. You're concussed. You don't know what you're saying. I've never been more clear-headed in my life. He cupped her face. I lost Sarah because I was too slow to see the danger. I won't lose you because I was too stupid to claim what I want. Say yes. Serena looked at this impossible man, this killer and father, this crime lord and caregiver, this dangerous and devoted soul who somehow loved her. Yes, she breathed. Yes, I'll marry you. Sebastian kissed her there in the warehouse, surrounded by violence and victory, and Serena knew with absolute certainty that she'd found where she belonged. 3 years later, Serena stood in the garden of the Malibu estate, watching Matteo chase after his little sister through the roses. Iris was 2 years old now, named for the daughter Sebastian, and Sarah never got to meet with her mother's eyes and her father's determination. You're thinking too hard again, Sebastian said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Serena leaned into him, still marveling at how natural this felt, how right. Just remembering the warehouse before that. The day I almost let you fire me for suggesting Matteo had Addison's. She turned in his arms. What if I had stayed silent? What if I had been too afraid to speak up? But you weren't. Sebastian kissed her forehead. You've never been too afraid. That's one of the 1,000 reasons I love you. Only 1,000?
Give me time.
I'm still counting. Matteo ran up to them, Iris toddling behind. Papa, Mama, come see the ladybug we found.
Mama.
Serena's heart still swelled every time she heard it. She'd officially adopted Matteo 6 months after the wedding, and the boy had started calling her Mama almost immediately, like he'd been waiting his whole life for permission. Let's see this magnificent ladybug, Sebastian said, allowing his son to drag him toward the garden. Serena followed Iris's small hand in hers and thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago. Broken, invisible. Now she was a wife, a mother, and yes, still a nurse, but on her own terms, running a free clinic in her old neighborhood with Sebastian's financial backing. The violence of his world still existed. The danger never fully disappeared. But Sebastian had restructured his operations, moving away from the darkest aspects of the family business. He'd never be entirely legitimate. His past wouldn't allow it, but he was trying for her. For their children, Serena. Sebastian's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He was looking at her with that expression that still made her knees weak. Love, desire, profound gratitude. Thank you for what? For seeing me? For saving my son? For choosing this life when you could have run. He pulled her close, heedless of the children playing nearby. For making me believe I deserve happiness. You do, she whispered fiercely. We all do. Then I'm the luckiest man alive. As the California sun set over their garden, painting everything in gold and rose, Serena knew with absolute certainty that she'd found what she'd been searching for all along. Not safety, not comfort, not even stability. She'd found home. This story has reached its end. Thank you all for following this story. If you enjoyed it, please write in the comments where you're watching from and share your thoughts about this story. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video as your support is important for me to continue creating content. Until next time.